Joshua chapter 8, verse 1. I'm going to start with verse 1, and this is an argument, that's what we did. Let's start at verse 1. Okay, so it says, Vayomer Hashem El Yoshua. Hashem said to Joshua, Al Tira, do not be afraid, V'al Techat, and do not be afraid. Okay, is two ways of saying be afraid. Don't be. They'll probably say don't be afraid and don't tremble, something like that. But really, both words have to do with being afraid. Sorry.
Here it says do not lose resolve. How would they get to resolve?
Resolve means
resolve. If you're afraid of something,
don't be afraid of something. Don't be afraid, right?
If you're afraid of something, you
lose your resolve.
Yeah.
But the Hebrew wouldn't actually literally say that.
Literally is, again, tira means it's coming from the shorish of yareh, to be afraid or to respect, to be all that sort of thing. But al tiram in this case means do not be afraid. That would be how you have to translate that. Al techat is again a type of fear, F-E-A-R. It's another type of fear. So the Targum here, I'll give you, the Targum would say, do not be broken.
Okay.
Do not lose resolve.
There you go. Don't be broken. So, but the point is they're both saying, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be broken.
Two different ways. That's all.
Right, two different ways. Okay. Kach imcha, take with you. 8 kol am hamilchama, all of the nation to the war. Actually, to war. I'll be very specific there. V'kum, and get up. Command form. Kum, get up. The singular actually. Kum. Alei, there's also singular. Alei ha'ai, go up to I, or go up the I, which means go to I. Re'ei, see. Command again. It is all singular. Re'ei, see, natati biyadcha, I have given, I God, have given into your hand, yours being, again, a singular. Et melech ha'ai, the king of I, v'et amo, and his nation, v'et iro, and his city, v'et artso, and his land. What's your question? You have thousands of questions this one.
We could have used this passage in our lesson last week. With the possessors.
There you go.
There you go.
Why is
all these are words that we've had.
Why is he using the singular you rather than plural for
because it says take all of the people with you.
Right. Good. Next. Let's get to questions. Why singular? Next. You can probably answer that yourself.
Because he's talking to Yeshua, the leader.
Okay. Good. You can say that too. Go. What else? What's your other question?
Why is he talking about fear two ways?
Oh, good. Good. Next.
So he breaks down instead of just I'm going to give you over. I'm going to give them over to you. He's breaking it down. He says he's going to give them the king, then his people, then the city, and his country.
Good. So the question is why all those things. Okay? Got all those questions? Let's go on. Just want to get you guys thinking. Okay. Ve'asita la'ai, and you will do to I, ula malka, and her king. Why her king, by the way?
A country is a nation is feminine.
Good. Okay, good. That's fine. So now I'll translate it properly. And its king. Okay, but because it's a mapik hey, this for all you grammar people, that's mapik hey, so it's a way of saying her. And the reason you're saying her is because it's feminine, because I is feminine because that's the city, the state. So any state is going to be feminine. Fine. So Ula Malka and its king, Ka'ashir Asita L'Richo Ula Malka, just as you did to Jericho and its king, again, it's it being the feminine, Rak Shlala, Uvehemta tavozu lachem. Only the booty and its booty and its animals. Tavozu lachem. You will take as plunder for yourself. Okay. Sim lacha orev ir me'achareh. Put for yourself an ambush to the city from behind it. Well, you don't want to translate it?
No, that's good. It's just
Okay.
that he's actually giving strategy there on how to attack.
Yes, yes. God is not only the creator of the universe, not only does he make clothes for the Kohen Gadol and tell us how to, he's the one who tells us how to build the temple, he tells us how to make clothes for the Kohen Gadol and for the Kohanim in general. Not only is he a tailor and a builder, but he's also a strategist. Correct. God is telling Joshua what to do. Okay, what questions do you have here? There's one question that should be bouncing on that here.
Why is there a separation between spoils and animals? That's one question I have.
Okay.
As far as the booty.
Okay. What else? Based upon that, that's what I want you to zero in on. What is the problem with this? Rock shlala uvehemta tavozu lachem. Which means, again, only its plunder and its animals you should take for yourself, as it were.
Also, he's going from the singular you to yourself. He's talking to Joshua about his people.
Oh.
There's a shift grammatically there.
What do you mean, tavozu lachem versus what?
No, but he's talking to Joshua, so that's singular. But the people,
Right.
the warriors are going to go in,
right.
So that's them.
What did they do in Jericho with the spoils?
They took what they weren't supposed to take.
They made a cherem, right?
Yeah.
Joshua originally declared a cherem. Did he do that with God's approval?
No.
No, right? That's why God says to him previously, why did you do that? Because you made it cherem. That's why Achan was guilty. That's why you lost it, because you did. I agreed with you, God saying, I agreed with you for that, but really, I never asked it. God is not giving that option here. God is saying to them, only you're going to destroy everybody, but the plunder and his animals, take them. They belong to you. They don't belong to me. I don't want any more problems like this. So God seems to be taking, not only giving strategy, but now he's being very specific on orders too. You take everything. All of you guys, have a good day. Okay? We'll see if I'm right, but that seems to be what's going on. Okay? And then, like I said, he says, put an ambush to the back of the city. Fine. So now, next one, Gimel. Vayakam Yehoshua v'chol am hamilchama. So Joshua got up, and all of the nation to the war, la'alot ha'ai, to go up against Ai. Vayivchar Yehoshua. So Joshua chose. That's also an interesting thing. Is it and Joshua chose, or Joshua chose? In other words, you have a vav mahafeche. You have a reversing vav. So va yivchar makes that word past, right? Normally it would be, if it would say yivchar, that would be and he chose, and he will choose. But here's va yivchar Yehoshua, a common device in the Torah and in Tanakh. But do I translate that as and Joshua chose, or Joshua chose? What would you say?
Oh, because the reversing vav.
Right, it's reversing vav. So really, vayivchar means he chose. So now, is it and he chose, or he chose? What would you say?
Is there a general rule of grammar that we don't know yet?
Could be. Take a guess. Then I'm going to show you something. What would you say, Jim?
He chose.
What do you say, Bill?
I think it's he chose. Does it make any difference whether it comes at the beginning or not?
Beginning of what?
Like a verse?
Yeah. It could. So, like Vayakam, it's not and he got up. It's
Because we
Joshua
don't
got
put
up.
an and all the time.
Right. And but if you look at most translations, you're going to see and. Okay. But here, if you look under the word I, ha'ai, you'll see what looks like a wishbone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That for all intents and purposes is a semicolon. So the next thing is a brand new thought.
That's the beginning of it.
Beginning of a phrase. So really, you should say Joshua chose, not and Joshua chose. How do they translate? And?
No, they gave a period,
No, they put a
actually.
period.
They put a period.
Oh, there you go. Beautiful.
But the beginning of the verse, Vayacham, they're giving an and.
Okay, so I don't know why. Because really, you don't need it there. You could say Joshua got up. Joshua and the whole nation got up in the morning. To the war. So this also, Joshua chose. But again, this is very important when you're looking at translations. Did they know what they were doing? This would really be a telling point. The translator. Does the translator understand the mechanics of the language? We all want to translate that vav because it's a vav. It's there. And we like to, break it down. No, it doesn't. Sometimes you're wrong to do that.
So if
it's very important.
If it's reversing vav, you usually don't make it an and.
I'm not going to say usually anything. It depends on where it is in the sentence. If it's starting the sentence, Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe lemor, you don't say and God spoke to Moses saying. God spoke to Moses saying. Period. Not and.
So whatever reason.
What's the purpose of the vav?
The vav reverses the
with the patach on it.
The tense. That's how you do the reverse tense.
Oh.
We haven't hit that in the chapter yet.
No, we didn't.
No, I don't think so.
We didn't. We don't have reversing vowels yet.
No, we haven't.
You
talked about it before.
Sorry,
I thought we talked about it.
I thought we talked about it already. But we have a reversing vav. So depending on what the vowel is under the vav, we'll take that tense, whatever tense we have in front of us, and switch it.
This is only
the yivchar. You should this we know. Yivchar is what tense? Past or future?
Yivchar.
Is beginning.
Future.
Right. So if that's the case, so how could I translate that as Vayivcha Yeshua and Joshua chose? I should say Joshua will choose. Right? You should have said, Rabbi, you don't know Hebrew yourself. Here you are hitting all these translators up, and you're an ignoramus. We learned Yivchar is will choose. And you have a chutzpah to say chose? Because it makes sense? Right? As you should have said to me. You didn't, because
why'd you do that?
Because you're a good student. You're like every other college student. Whatever the professor says is fine. We don't care. Whatever says good. I want the A in the course. Okay, but really that's what it is. Once I understand that the vav turns, that's why we call it the vav mahapech. It turns the tense. So that vav, because it has a patach under it, I'm being very technical here, but va yivchar, that changes that future into the past. So now the question is, do you translate the vav as and Joshua chose, or because of va yivchar means he chose in reality, do I just say Joshua chose? You understand? So like I said, when you're looking at translations, and Moses said, and God said to Moses, and it means that translator was an ignoramus. Does not know how the Hebrew's working. Doesn't understand mechanics. Okay? Now, I guarantee you somebody's going to hit me up on that one. So
yeah, for whatever reason.
Because people do it all the time, but I don't know why they're doing it. So maybe they have some reason that they can figure out. But I think it's just a matter of us seeing va and want to say and, because it's just natural to want to do that. But really, it's unnecessary. You don't have to say and. It's and I think it's actually a wrong translation more than anything else. Because what kind of phrase would that be? I need the grammar for that. conjunctive phrase?
Coordinating conjunction.
There you go. Okay, and it's
So
not.
that means that it's of equal value with what was in the sentence before.
Oh, you mean that when it's at the beginning of this, when you start a sentence?
When you use an and, it means you have to join it to something.
Right.
It has to.
Oh, so in other words, so
He did this, and then he did this, and then he did this.
but when you make a new sentence out of it,
But when it doesn't go on, you have to, within the understanding of the sentence, you have to ask yourself, am I coordinating anything here?
if you had, because let's say maybe you had a real long sentence in a period, and you don't want to continue the sentence, and then you start it, and you start your sentence because you know you're going back to that, but you just don't want to make that sentence long.
We were talking about the other day about how political correctness, you're not supposed to use a red pencil to correct people's, because it hurts their feelings.
Right.
But this is one of those things in an English paper that your teacher would circle and say, what are you joining this to?
Right, right.
These two ideas are not joined together. So.
Okay.
Right. Well, I mean, this is joined because the Joshua is going to battle, and part of that battle is he's choosing these. But the question is, did he choose these people before he went to battle, or did he?
Are the two of equal
right.
importance?
So that's the question you have to ask. Where did he do this? Okay.
A kid starts to tell a story, and it's, we went on a trip, and we saw this, and we. That's redundant and boring.
Correct. Okay, so now I'm going to translate it as he chose. So Joshua chose 36 men, Giborei Chayil, strong men of valor, Vayish Lachem, and he sent them. Remember the Tzere and the Mem is them. That's the ending for the Mem. The ending for them. Yishlach is he sent them. So, and here you have to say Vayishalchem Lila, and he sent them at night.
Because those two do coordinate.
Correct.
Those
Okay.
two are two thoughts that are joined.
Okay, so you understand? Sometimes the vav
Two sentences.
does work in the same sentence. Sometimes it doesn't mean and, sometimes it does. It has to be context. Bottom line is context here. So here, Vayivcha Yoshua, Joshua chose Shloshim Elef Ish, 36 men, Giborei Chayil, who were strong, valiant men. Vayishlachem, and he sent them Lila at night. You can't say he sent them at night. You can't say that. It has to be an and at that point. Okay? Everybody go with me?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's the beginning of a sentence, the va is going to mean just God spoke to Moses saying, or in this case, Joshua and his the whole army got up. And then if there's an etnachta, again, that's the wishbone. That's what works. But if it's just an ending of a phrase, which is Giborei Chayil, that would be an ending of a phrase, but not a strong ending, then the va joins it and says and. Okay? A lot of technical things to that sentence. I just want you to get that part. So again, are there any questions? Just simple going through it. Joshua and all the nation got up to the war to go up against Ai. Joshua chose 36 men of
36,000. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, 36,000. I'm sorry, 30,000. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at it myself. 30,000 men of valiant men, and he sent them at night. Right, 30,000. I'm sorry. Okay, I don't know what I was looking at, but okay. 36 righteous men. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get carried away.
It's real important how this grammar works, because none of this pointing would be here. You know, all this.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
The pointing is not there, so you have to use your brain. How the language works.
You'd have to use. See, these all came at Sinai too. The break, as it were, came from Sinai. So we knew how to read this. We knew how to read
how it sounded.
How it was, right. So now what happens, as we got dumber, This is a book for dummies.
Cliff notes.
Not even, this is a book for dummies. And so what happened was, the Masoretes, they put down the information because people were forgetting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why in these books you'll have it. But if you go to the scroll, you still have scrolls, you won't see any of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like looking at the Torah. And you have to know what you're looking at. So if you don't know what you're looking at, you're going to put phrases together that don't match. And it's disturbing as hearing nails on a chalkboard.
So when they came up with the system of vowel points, and also the little trup symbols, that was at the same time they put that down.
I doubt that. It's probably layers. The Masoretes, you have to think of how dumb we get. In other words, when we start getting dumb, so I give you a little help. And as I see that you don't know more and more and more, I keep increasing on the help.
But people were losing the pronunciation because they were losing the vowels, and they must have been losing the punctuation. I mean, the trup is the punctuation, right?
You're right, but I'm just saying that, think about how our old tradition developed. First we had the Midrash, then we had the Mishnah, then we had the Gemara, then we have so on and so forth. To keep going. If you look at old Teshuvot, old response to literature, we ask a question and there's 3 words to answer that question. Today, any rabbi who would answer in 3 words either is the ultimate genius or is not going to be respected because nobody understands what he's talking about. Okay? So today we develop and we give you all the background and so on and so forth because we're assuming that you don't know. So, like I said, this is dummy books. We're seeing as we go on how much we lost. And so the Masoretes, I doubt they did everything at once. What I'm guessing is that they did one thing first, and probably the grammar first, more than the vowels, because people know how to read. Think about Israelis; they know how to read without vowels. If it's my language, I'm going to read it without vowels. But I don't necessarily know where the comma is, or the semicolon, or the quotes. And if you look at Shulchan Aruch, or the Gemara, actually the Talmud also does it. It states blah 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 blah, quote blah blah blah, but there's no quote. So if I'm just reading it, and I'm an idiot, I just read it and I say, well, these words absolutely make no sense to me. Well, it's because you don't realize that this is a quarter of the verse. So again, that's what happens. And so here, I don't know what came first. That would be a Google search if they would have that sort of thing. Which came first, the notes or the vowels? But I would think the vowels came very late. That's my guess. The notes the cancellation would have to come quicker. And more than that, even that changed a little bit. In other words, how the notes look today was already changed to what they were then. So that itself, some of them, not all of them. But it's who we are. People got, as we went further and further and further away from Israel and further away from the text, so we lost all these things. And now we're just when the Masoretes are doing, they were just recapturing what we had lost. The other thing that is counter to what I'm saying is when you put the grammar down, you stop possible readings of the text. You know what I'm saying? If I have words written on a piece of paper, and this is an exercise we do to kids in 2nd or 3rd grade, I remember. And Bill was in high school. You never did the lower grades, right?
Pardon?
You never did lower grades. You only did.
I only taught.
But maybe you did. You may have done this in. I don't know if you did this in your languages, but it would be a good thing to do also. Where I put up a paragraph, and I say punctuate it. Again, 2nd or 3rd grade is when we normally do this. But I don't punctuate. I don't put the period there. I don't do anything for it. I have this thing there, and I say punctuate it. Now, truth is, if I'm really creative, I can punctuate it quite different than you will, and have it make sense. Okay, that's what the Torah does. Because there's no punctuation, it's totally by what God told us that we have to read like this fine. but there's no punctuation. As a result of that, sometimes I can put things together that really shouldn't go together by simple, in other words, now that I know here, oh, this word goes to that one, these are word pairs, fine, but if I didn't know that, or if I had the freedom, if you will, to punctuate it differently, that would change the meaning of the sentence, and possibly the meaning of the halacha. And this is something that the Talmud uses, this freedom that we have. Because when you're looking at when you learn Talmud, and you see the verses that they quote, and you go to the verse and you say, whoa, they took this out of context. By the way, that itself is what we would call tremendously a chutzpah to say about them, because what right do I have to say that they took it out of context? I'm using it because the Masoretes told me how to read it. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It means that there was some creative stuff going on there, but that was all within the rubric of Torah. No, they didn't go out of the rubric of Torah. They weren't reformers. They said, oh, we got a good kiddush here. I know I read it this way and you read it that way. No. It was fair ball what they did. But because we are set with this, because we have all the vowels in front of us, we say, this is how you read it. That's it. And how do I know? Because my mommy told me so. Okay? This is how it is. The Masoretes told me how you read it. So you want to read it a different way. How dare you read it that way? You're an Epicurus. You're a non-believer. You're a heretic. And the rabbis would look at us and say, no, reverse that. You're the heretic. Because you don't understand how the Torah works. Okay? So that's part of the problem when we get stuck with these things. When the words are broken up, when we have all the periods, we know where everything goes. It's very hard for us to break out of that and to understand what they were talking about in the Talmud or wherever it is, in Midrash, wherever we see these things. It wasn't that they did not understand. They had more knowledge than we do. They were closer to it. But they also had an understanding of how the language works. So they could put that together. So really, that would get into your... What I'm doing is pshat. Simple understanding, this is what it is. They were dealing on different levels. So if I go into drush, if I go into remez, if I go into sod, the rules don't apply. My pshat reasons, my pshat rules don't apply in those other fields. And we have to appreciate that. All in one foot, we have to appreciate that. But that's something to keep in mind, that we get stuck because we have the stuff in front of us. So I can break the sentence up. You know when this doesn't work? In Psalms. In the book of Psalms, these notes do not work properly. In the book of Job, these notes do not work properly.
Why is that?
It's just the way it was set up. I don't have a good answer for that. But I know when I was reading it, I said to somebody, one of my buddies, one of my colleagues out there, I said, I'm reading Job, and it just doesn't make sense with the notes. He said, you mean you didn't read the introduction? So where's the introduction to this? I don't know. So he told me that there was a place. He said, everybody recognizes what you said. Thank God you finally decided to read the book. Okay, very good for you. But he said, it's well known that the trope, the musical notes, the grammar, doesn't work in certain books. So that's another thing we have to figure out. Why, and by the way, nobody knows how they work in those books. That was lost. They say that was lost. Now, it doesn't mean that it was totally lost. I have no idea. I've yet to see anybody who, I haven't looked either to find out if there's anybody out there who really knows it. But according to these traditions, that tradition was lost for certain books. And we also don't know how to sing those notes as a result of that. Even though they're all very close to each other, but it's we don't know everything. So that's diaspora. Okay, maybe with Mashiach, he'll tell us how to sing that and explain all these things. But right now, we're stuck.
In that book and the others, it doesn't sound like we read the other Megillas like?
Correct. The Megillah Esther has its own. It has its own. The three Yonah has a regular one. Shir Hashirim, Kohelet, and I'm missing one. forget the last one. I'm missing one. Ruth. And Ruth have a different. They have their own. Everyone have, but they're all similar. They're all similar. But it's we don't have those. We all have.
Yeah.
When it comes to Tehillim, Psalms, we don't have that. We just don't have it.
Oh, we use for half Torah.
We never sing Psalms.
There's only if it's
I'm saying for the Psalms. For the book of Psalms, we don't have.
Oh,
we never. We never.
Not taken out of
right.
it.
We never read. We never read Job as a Haftarah. So that we don't have that either.
So when you have a traditional song that's related to a psalm, like Psalm 133, Inam Atov,
we make those tunes up.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
We make those up. Inam Atov, Mana, all made up. Yeah, nice songwriter. That's it. But it's when we have on Friday night we sing psalms, but that was made up by Shlomo Kalbach.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe in 100 years I'll say, "Ooh, wow, the Heilige one," but it's the holy songs here. But it's
what about the traditional? What do you call it? When it's the chazan is leading with is traditional, the way we don't usually.
Depends on what the tradition is. Aleinu from Rosh Hashanah, they say that goes back to the temple.
The way we sing it?
Yes, they say that goes back to the temple.
Really?
And so you have others, other songs also they say are very, very Elichion, they say goes back to the destruction of the temple.
Huh.
So that is very old.
Huh.
You have some very, very old tunes, and they have been kept.
Wow.
But there's far and few between. Most of our songs are pretty modern. Like I said, most of them are Shlomo Carlebach, and Shlomo Carlebach, you can get him online. He just put in Shlomo Carlebach, and you'll see he has a whole bunch of tunes. Then you also have the updated tunes.
This is like I heard somebody mention one time that the traditional melody for Ein Kelokenu, da 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 da.
That's a drinking
Somebody
song.
said it was a German marching song.
Yeah, is that a drinking song, something like that? Yeah.
That's very common in Christianity.
Yeah.
Right.
Palestrina, he used to, he made money writing hymns for the Catholic Church, for the Pope.
Right.
But he also sold songs on the street, popular music. And so he would take some of the popular songs that he made money on and then take the same tune. And the clergy was always wondering, the people really like this hymn. Because they were singing it down at the bar the night before.
So is the tunes the way that I'll do this because it's coming to the end of the time anyway. But the Lubavitcher Rebbe used in the song Hader ve'Hamuna, he used the French national anthem. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. And his people, now the French, with all due respect to the French out there, they hated Jews. They're avid anti-Semites. Sold us out with a dime. They gave us, there was no question.
Over and over.
Over and over. They never one of our friends. And like I said, avid anti-Semites. So the question was brought to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, how could you use a song of our enemy who tried to kill us, certainly with Hitler, tried to kill us over and over and over again, and you're using them for such a holy song as our dad, and he said, music is from Hashem. All music is holy. So we can put it to holy things, and it will regain its holiness, or you can have it to the lowest common denominator. But music is from Hashem. So it's a holy tune, this tune is a holy tune. And that's how he did it. And we learn from that, at least from his lessons, that if I take any tune, that fits the words hopefully, that's the big thing, it should fit the words, but any tune can be turned into Kedusha, into holiness. So that was the Lubavitcher Rebbe's approach to it. So that would answer why we could use all these different tunes that we have. Other people get all bent out of shape for doing this. I'm going to stop this tape here. If those who want to listen to more, you have to come to class.